It's the 8th day of May 2013, and for the 4th day there is no deal yet on the composition of two crucial committees of the National Assembly. The ruling Jubilee coalition remains adamant that it has ceded enough ground in the composition of the Public Investment Committee and the Public Accounts Committee.
And as the row raged, Deputy President William Ruto waded into the debate with a call on the Speaker of the National Assembly to give direction on the matter that is threatening to derail the business of the House, including the vetting of the cabinet nominees.
This development came as governors agreed to adjourn county assembly sittings across the country to protest what they claim to be an attempt to scuttle devolution through reduced funding.
Well, the question is there an attempt to derail devolution? Who are the dark forces behind this attempt? And will Uhuru Kenyatta's government step in to allay these fears? These are the stories we have lined up for you, but first the highlights.
Devolution is meaningless. What we shall have is decentralization.
Governor lock horns with the national government over devolution.
I am very grateful to have been associated with them, and I want to see all of them united, strong, speaking very specific, proper English.
The last few months, he had been preparing himself for his departure.
Grief and laughter as family and friends eulogize Mutula ahead of burial.
Woman goes to court claiming she has a son with the late Mutula Kilonzo.
Vetting of cabinet secretaries to kick off tomorrow despite Quad's boycott.
Well, good evening and welcome for watching KTN Prime. I'm James Smart, and for a further incentive for you to continue watching your channel of choice, tonight we introduce another flagship news program. We are calling it The Perspective. Now, every week we will seek to go behind the stories and covering the issues behind the stories and giving you the lowdown of those stories.
Indeed, and tonight John Alanamu will be focusing on alcoholism in central Kenya. Be sure to tune in at about 9:45 tonight. But still on other stories, the Council of Governors is tonight accusing Treasury of usurping the constitutional mandate of the Commission on Revenue Allocation by reducing the amount of revenue allocated to the counties.
Well, the governors say the amounts allocated by Treasury are only sufficient for recurrent costs. That includes paying salaries and not development.
But as KTN's Patrick Amimo reports, Deputy President William Ruto says the government is committed to ensuring the devolved system of government succeeds.
Governors from 47 counties across the country converged in Nairobi to discuss challenges of devolution, especially when it comes to revenue allocation between county governments and national government. The Commission on Revenue Allocation had initially proposed that 2% of the total national revenue be allocated to counties before settling for 231 billion shillings, which translates to 14.3%. The Jubilee government, through its manifesto, had proposed to increase the amounts allocated to counties from a minimum of 15% that is provided for in the Constitution to 40%. But governors are concerned that Treasury has usurped the CRA mandate and intends to reduce the amount to 175 billion shillings, which translates to 10.93%. through the Division of Revenue Bill that is currently in the National Assembly.
Devolution is meaningless. What we shall have is decentralization, whereby the central governments, county governments will be reduced to human resource bureaus, because we will only be paying salaries and we will not be able to show anything for our work.
Deputy President William Ruto assured that the government has adjusted upwards revenue allocated to counties.
We have settled on a figure of 210 billion to be the amount of money that will go to our county governments. 190 billion will be shared using the formula developed by the Commission on Revenue Allocation. 4 billion shillings will be held to be shared between the provincial hospitals to take care of any gaps or shortages, if there are any, resulting from budgeting from the host counties, and 16 billion shillings that will go into grants to counties to pay for devolved functions.
The National Assembly is expected to urgently complete debate and pass the Division of Revenue Bill by Thursday to pave way for debate on the County Allocation of Revenue Bill at the Senate.
The counties are appealing to the National Assembly and Senate to support the CRA allocation of 231 billion to the counties.
We would like to urge the parliamentarians that let not their tough fights come into the way of budget allocation that will, of necessity, disadvantage the Kenyan people.
It seems like as governors we are being set up for failure.
The governors also criticized Treasury for insisting that staff seconded to counties from national government should be paid from the same kitty allocated to counties. Yet Section 73, subsection 2 of the County Government Act states it shall be the responsibility of the national government to pay the salaries, remuneration, allowances and other benefits due to the staff seconded to a county government during the transition period, which is set at 3 years after the first election. Business came to a standstill in at least 6 counties after members of county assemblies unanimously passed motions to adjourn their sittings indefinitely until issues touching on their salaries and welfare are addressed. The affected counties are Kisumu, Kakamega, Kisii, Nyandarua, Nakuru and Nairobi. Sources indicated that members of county assemblies across the country schemed to move motions to down tools until their plight is addressed by the government. Patrick Amimo, KTN, Nairobi.
And the memo story leads us to a big question tonight, and we asked, do you think that the executive is undermining the county governments? Do you think the executive is undermining the county governments? Well, send your yes or no response with a brief comment to the number 8040, and we'll sample your views during this newscast and give you the poll results at the tail end of this live bulletin.
Indeed, and moving on, the vetting of Cabinet Secretary nominees will kick off tomorrow amid a row over the control of 2 watchdog committees that has seen quote-by-quote parliamentary committees.
Well, it remains unclear whether court MPs to the Appointments Committee will take part in the vetting process. Deputy President William Ruto waded into the row, saying Jubilee has ceded enough ground and it was up to the leadership of the National Assembly to give direction. Rita Tineda has the story.
Point of order.
Following court's withdrawal from parliamentary committees on Tuesday in a row over the control of the crucial public investments and public accounts committees, parliamentary business was conducted in plenary as had been directed by the Speaker. The second reading of the Division of Revenue Bill saw MPs kick off debate on the bill that will guide revenue sharing between the national and county governments. Ordinarily, if departmental committees were in place, the bill would first have been committed to the relevant committee, which would in turn facilitate public participation before making its report to the House. Now, with the absence of the committees and with a Thursday deadline for consideration of the bill will be committed to a committee of the whole House on Thursday, where amendments will be moved before the Speaker puts the question.
And I must begin by...
But even as the National Assembly went on with business, albeit with a few operational changes, the row that so-called MPs withdraw from the committees persists. Court will not back down on its demand for control of the PAC and PIC. Jubilee, which has ceded the chairmanship of the 2 committees, will not give court the majority in the watchdog committees.
We are prepared as government and as the government party in the House to cede ground so that we can create consensus and agreement so that we can move forward.
Court on Tuesday said it had withdrawn from the already formed committees, including the Committee on Appointments. But some MPs appeared to soften their stand, saying court had not withdrawn from the 4 committees in place. With uncertainty over court's exact position, leader of majority Aden Duale said the Committee on Appointments will on Thursday begin the vetting of Cabinet Secretary nominees at the KICC. Devolution and Planning nominee Anne Waiguru, Defense nominee Rachel Omamu, Foreign Affairs nominee Amina Mohammed, Jacob Kaimenyi, the Education, Science and Technology nominee, and the National Treasury nominee Henry Rotich are slated to appear before the committee on Thursday. Rita Tinina, KTN.
Well, let's stay with politics, and the Jubilee Coalition members in the Senate have moved to discipline Kakamega Senator Boni Halwale by kicking him out of the powerful Finance, Commerce and Economic Affairs Committee, as well as the Committee on Implementation. Halwale fell out of favor with the Jubilee side after insisting on competing with Mandera Senator Bill Okero for the chairmanship of the Senate Finance Committee. KTN's Notieno has that report.
You coming up with
Dr. Boni Halwale's desire to chair the Finance, Commerce and Economic Affairs Committee saw him clash directly with the Jubilee members who are supporting Bill Okero for the position.
Senator Dr. Halwale is no longer representing the interests of the Jubilee Coalition in the committees, and we have discharged him of those duties.
the leader of majority is saying that according to the media, I am supporting the minority. Two, Mr. Speaker, the leader of the minority has twice referred to a document between UDF and Jubilee. Mr. Speaker, I challenge him to table that document so that the Senate can see what agreement you have between Jubilee and UDF. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, there is no coalition, post-election coalition between Jubilee and UDF. What is there, Mr. Speaker, is a document of cooperation.
The senators resolved in the afternoon session by a vote of 30 against 16 to replace Khalwale with the Alliance Party of Kenya's nominated Senator Beatrice Elachi in the Finance Committee and Ali Abdi Bule in the Committee on Implementation. The two are expected to give Jubilee an upper hand in the two committees, where CORD has been giving Jubilee a run for their money. The election of the chair of the Finance Committee will be conducted Thursday at 9 a.m. and with Khalwale out, Mandera Senator Bill Okero is widely expected to win. Now, Tino, KTN Prime.
Leaders across the political divide have urged Kenyans to allow investigations into the cause of Makueni Senator Mutula Kilonzo's death to run their course. Leaders who attended the memorial service for the late Makueni Senator expressed their commitment towards ensuring that the circumstances leading to the late Senator's death were brought to light. KTN's Wilkis Tanyabo reports.
In the areas that
11 days after Makueni Senator Mutula Kilonzo's death, friends and family gathered at the Nairobi Baptist Church for his memorial service. His body, however, remained at the Lee Funeral Home, only to be viewed by a few. The service bringing together mourners from all walks of life who shared their fondest memories of Mutula. His children would remember him as a kind but firm father, savoring all the moments they had together.
Because he knew he was going to leave us in the office, informed me that he's going to paradise. And he drove himself out of A Group Center for the last time.
His widow as a man who never forgot the little things, as indicated by a touching message in a Valentine's Day card he sent her.
And I'll read it. It's written, Duko. I never thought I would find someone who could love me the way I needed to be loved.
Others remembered him as a lawyer who was driven by a need to see a new constitution in place. But on this day, most chose to celebrate his life, remembering Mutula's sense of humor.
Recently, when we had that case in the Supreme Court, and then his daughter, Kathy, here, became a star. So I called him and said, that little girl is brilliant. But then he went on to say, look, many people have asked me for her hand. And I said that I cannot substitute brains for cows.
In the midst of the celebration of Mutula's life, the question of what killed him would rear its head. A post-mortem examination carried out by 7 doctors saw pathologists take 52 samples. They then declared that the country would have to wait 8 to 10 weeks for the report on the cause of Mutula's death.
Let us allow those who are charged with the responsibilities of carrying out investigations go to the root cause of this death.
Everything will be done to ensure that Mutula Kilonzo gets a befitting and a deserving send-off, devoid of any speculations.
During his last few weeks alive, a change is said to have come over the late Makueni senator.
He was so much at peace, and he would tell me things that I would just, go down to my prayer closet and say, God, help us.
And with his death, questions now abound as to just who will succeed him.
From you, get us one of you to take up these matters in, well, let us not talk about politics now.
The body of the late Mutula is scheduled to leave Nairobi from Buoni early on Thursday morning. Wilkinson Abwa, KTN in Nairobi.
And the High Court has ordered DNA tests on the late Mutula Kilonzo's body in a paternity suit filed by a mother of a 7-year-old boy. The orders followed an application by Eunice Ndenya, who claims that the late senator is the father of her 7-year-old son Jackson Moore. In the ruling, Justice Luka Kimaru said the DNA samples will be used to ascertain parenthood in the case, which was filed through the Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA. Ndenya, who says she gave birth to a son in May 2006, claims she's the daughter of an employee of the late Mutula Kilonzo. All right, now President Uhuru Kenyatta concluded his visit to the United Kingdom by meeting with Kenyans living in the diaspora. While applauding the cordial relationships between the UK and Kenya, President Kenyatta assured those living in the diaspora that the Kenyan economy is on a strong growth path and invited the business community to take advantage of the various investment opportunities available in the country. Our UK correspondent Atieno now reports.
Many travel far and wide to central London for this occasion that they considered auspicious. This was not just a session to exchange pleasantries, as Kenyans living in the United Kingdom were on a mission and had one message that resonated loud and clear: involve us.
We would appreciate Your Excellency greatly if our ideas and our views were considered in shaping national policies.
We know that many of our people are part and parcel of policy formulation in various parts of the world.
I am hopeful that a day is coming when, besides the diaspora being able to vote, we shall have in our Kenyan Parliament and the Senate a representative of the Kenyan diaspora.
I will create an office in the office of the President that will be specifically to deal on a day-to-day basis with our diaspora, so that we are engaging in our process. Maybe not at the level of principal secretary, because hiyo ni mambo ya kwenda bunge tena, and I don't know.
One of the grievances raised was them not being able to vote in the last general elections, a point noted by the President, who gave his reassurance that this will be made possible come the year 2017.
My government will ensure that the IEBC will be better prepared and resourced to enable the Kenyan diaspora enjoy their voting rights in the next general election.
Not all got a chance on the podium, but they had these messages for the President.
I would have possibly liked him to talk more of how he is going to create the million jobs he has already promised us.
This was the President's first visit to the United Kingdom since he took over office in April of this year. And in a show of patriotism, Kenyans living in the UK thronged the Intercontinental's ballroom in large numbers to meet their fourth President. It was an evening filled with demands and promises from the President. And many at the end of the evening were optimistic that these demands will come to pass in the course of Uhuru Kenyatta's presidency. Atieno Otieno reporting for KTN News in London, United Kingdom. Thank you very much, Atieno, for that story. We now take a short commercial break, but before then, let's have a reminder to our big question. When we had asked, do you think the executive is undermining the county governments? Do you think the executive is undermining the county government?
Indeed. send us your responses to 8040. Betty and I will sample your views at the tail end of this live news broadcast.
Or you are watching KTN Prime. Joy Dorinbera is coming up next with the day's business. Stay tuned.
Faulu na akiba. Before you can really start setting financial goals,